So, also, I'm going to add to my comments concerning what happened to the Jews in Pittsburgh yesterday. In light of that situation, like I said, I pointed out who was responsible. It was supersessionism, replacement theology was responsible for the murders of the Jews in Pittsburgh. And the leaders, the followers of that particular uh, doctrine, okay, which be the Christians. Let's be honest about it. And so, what I wanted to do was today also, since we know that Satan is responsible for the murders, and the followers of Satan are responsible for the murders of the Jews, and the people who worship at the synagogue of Satan are responsible for the murder of the Jews. I want to prove to you in a different way who the synagogue of Satan is. Have you heard of Gregory the 13th? Oh, no, you haven't? Gregory the 13th was the one who created the Gregorian calendar that the whole world operates on, or nearly the whole world operates on today. The Gregorian this is on Wikipedia. The Gregorian calendar is the most widely used civil calendar in the world. It is named after Pope Gregory the 13th, who introduced it in October 1582. The calendar spaces leap years to make the average year 365, 2,425 days long, approximating the 365, 2,422 day tropical year that is determined by the Earth's revolution around the sun. The rule for leap years is as follows. Every year that is exactly divisible by 4 is a leap year, except for years that are exactly divisible by 100. But these centurial years are leap years if they are exactly divisible by 400. For example, the years 1700, 1800, and 1900 are not leap years, but the year 2000 is. The calendar was developed as a correction to the Julian calendar, shortening the average year by 0.0075 days to stop the drift of the calendar with respect to the equinoxes. To deal with the 10-day difference between calendar and reality that this drift had already reached, the date was advanced so that October the 4th, 1582 was followed by the 15th of October, 1582. There was no discontinuity in the cycle of weekdays or of the Anno Domini calendar era. The reform also altered the lunar cycle used by the church to calculate the date for Easter, restoring it to the time of the year as originally celebrated by the early church. So, what you see is that the Gregorian calendar was centered on Easter, the holiday Easter. Now, I want you to look at something here. And before I get to this point, please understand that Easter does not celebrate, does not commemorate the Messiah's Last Supper with the apostles. It commemorates a false goddess whose name is Ishtar, represented by, what is it? Isis and Nimrod. And all the other associations with the so-called mother and son, false gods and goddesses that came before Miriam and Yehoshua. And Yehoshua did not rise on Sunday, as the Catholic Church has taught everybody. He rose around 3 or 4 o'clock p.m. Israeli time on the Sabbath, the seventh day. He was not crucified. He did not die on Friday. It was on the middle of the week. So, what I want to do is look up the, I hope I haven't lost it yet, the papal crest of Gregory the 13th. What do you see? Go to images, and you're going to see the papal crest of Gregory. What is it? The divining serpent, otherwise known as the Great Red Dragon. Yes, folks, the man who created the Gregorian calendar that the whole world uses today, his papal crest was the Great Red Dragon. I want you to look at it carefully. And it sits at the Vatican today. Now, let's go to the Bible. Let's see what it says about the Great Red Dragon. Now that we know that the whole world is influenced by the one who celebrated and worshiped the Great Red Dragon. I've talked about this before, folks, but I felt the need to mention it again. And here we have in Revelation 12 the signs that John saw in the vision. It was the Great Red Dragon versus Israel. The Great Red Dragon, let's see, I saw up here the great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. That's Israel, not the church. That's Israel, not Europe. I don't care what the European flag tries to tell you. That flag of Europe, the EU, is a forgery, is a fraud, is a lie. And she being with child, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered, and there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. I pointed out to you, to everyone, what the 7 heads were and the 10 horns were. And to those who might be new to this channel, the 7 heads are the first emperor of Rome, Augustus; the second emperor of Rome, Tiberius; the third emperor of Rome, Caligula; the fourth emperor of Rome, Claudius; the fifth emperor of Rome, Nero; the sixth emperor of Rome, Galba; the seventh emperor of Rome, Vitellius. And after him as Vitellius was killed by Vespasian. Vespasian became the eighth, and he was the one who ordered or who reissued the order of the campaign to destroy Jerusalem. And the 10 horns. Alemanni, that's Germany. The Franks is France. The Burgundians, that's Switzerland. Number 4, Sueve is Portugal. Number 5, Visigoth is Spain. Number 6, the Anglo-Saxon Kingdom. That's obvious. Number 7, the Langobard Kingdom, which was in North Italy in those days of John. And the Ostrogoth Kingdom, the Kingdom of Italy, which was overthrown by the Papal Kingdom. Number 9, Heruli, was a second one which was overthrown. That was the Eastern European tribe. And number 10, the Vandals. I can't even see what I wrote. It was a tribe of Poland and Spain and North Africa, the Vandals, which was rubbed out by the little horn. 8, 9, and 10 were rubbed out by the little horn. There you have your 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay. So, great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. All right. And so you see, and I'm going to put a thumbnail up of the crest of Gregory the 13th, who, and looky here. Let's go to Daniel one time. Daniel 7:25. Talking about the little horn. You know, the kingdom at the Vatican. We'll start in verse 23. And he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be different from all kingdoms, and he shall devour the whole land, and shall tread it down and break it into pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise. I just mentioned them. And another shall arise after them. And he shall be different from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. I pointed out which kingdoms he subdued just now. And he shall speak great words against the Most High. Who? Against who? Jehovah, the Elohim of Israel. And shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times. Gregorian calendar. And laws. Now, it says, and they, that would be the Jews, will be given to his hands until a times, and dividing of a time. That's 3.5 years. But it was Vespasian who did that. It's the same thing, the man who sat on the seat of the Caesars in Rome. It makes no difference. But what I'm trying to tell you is, we have a description of the great red dragon. Gregory was the one, and not only that, it was also, Julian calendar was by Julius Caesar, if I'm correct. Let me see, Julian calendar. Yes, was proposed by Julius Caesar in, as they say, 46 BC. So he also was one of those who thought to change the times, and so was Gregory. My point is, it's the same. It's the same thing. It's the man who sits on that seat. It's not one particular individual, though. But Gregory, you must understand, the author of the current Roman calendar, the one that the whole world, or nearly the whole world, uses today. I think I pointed this out in Wikipedia. Um, the reform was adopted initially by the Catholic countries of Europe and their overseas possessions. Over the next 3 centuries, the Protestant and Eastern Orthodox countries also moved to what they called the improved calendar, which means even the Protestants still followed the man at the Vatican, the beast. With Greece being the last European country to adopt the calendar in 1923. To unambiguously specify a date during the transition period, dual dating is sometimes used to specify both old style and new style dates. Due to the globalization in the 20th century, the calendar has also been adopted by most non-Western countries for civil purposes. Well, you see, deceived the whole world. That great red dragon that deceived the whole world, that old serpent, the divining serpent that Gregory worshipped. Revelation 12 and verse 9. We'll start in verse 7. And there was a war in heaven. Why? Well, because if Yehoshua overcame Satan, that means that as soon as Yehoshua ascended to heaven, that Satan would have to be cast down out of heaven. Right? And that happened shortly thereafter. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and the dragon and his angels prevailed not, neither was there any more place found in heaven. Why? Because the Messiah overcame Satan. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now has come salvation and strength. Why? Because Yehoshua Messiah is the salvation that Jehovah talked about in the prophets. And the kingdom of our Elohim and the power of his Messiah, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our Elohim day and night. So now he can no longer accuse the brethren in heaven. So what does he do? He picks the largest city on the earth, or the greatest city on the earth, and he makes his kingdom there. And from that kingdom, he accuses Israel day and night, and the followers of Yehoshua. He accuses them as well. And they overcame him and they will overcome him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death. Therefore rejoice, you heavens, and you that dwell in them. And woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the Mediterranean Sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because his time went from infinite to finite. Now, and what's the first thing that happens when the devil takes his place on the throne in Rome? And when the devil saw that he was cast into the earth, he persecuted the woman. He persecuted Israel. And it began, again, as I say, in 67 AD. And of course, the verse 13 through 17 is a summary of what happens from 67 AD until the time of the very, very end. So the dragon and the man at the Vatican are the same. They are one and the same. Gregory the 13th proved that with his dragon crest, which I'm going to post as a thumbnail for all to see. The whole world uses the Gregorian calendar, the calendar of the dragon.